We started with the auto provisioning settings of workflow, and we discussed around 3 to 4 settings. Let us go back and start from the same place. Right. So the path again showing. So I said 2 paths are available for this ARM part, especially under access control. And the first one is workflow for access control, where we design the workflow, and then user provisioning, where all auto provisioning settings are defined. So we have discussed till request type, and then employee types we have seen till employee types. Now let us see maintain number range intervals for provisioning requests. So what exactly is the necessity of this? Maintain number range intervals for provisioning requests. So when you submit an access request, or when a user submits an access request, there should be there will be a number allocated to that request number. So what should be that number? Is it a 3-digit number or a 4-digit number, 5-digit or 6-digit? So it should be lying in between some range of numbers. So here we will define that range, number range. Okay, clear everyone so far? So what we are doing is we will declare a range like 1 to 10 or 1 to 1000. That is a range. So the GRC request numbers when submitted by you will take a number from 1 and ends with 1000. Clear everyone? So this is related to access request number that is generated during submission of access request by user. So actually this is not related, number ranges. So the range we will define here. What range is that? So that is what we are going to define here. So when you go inside, so the object name is search with a GRAC. So this is your object number. This is your object. Once you enter the object, then click on number ranges. Sorry, I got a C here. Enter. So when you click on number ranges, so after that the step is number ranges, then modify intervals. And then insert interval. So these are the steps you need to perform. So after going inside this step, object name is GRAC, access GRAC, request REQ stands for request, NO stands for number. And number ranges, after going there, just let me come again. So as soon as you go inside this, put that request GRAC request number, click on number ranges, maintain intervals, modify, insert interval. So already I have one number here. The number is 1000 to 4 nines. So 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 1000 to 4 n So like this I can define multiple intervals here. So now interval number 2, so let me put from 1 to 999. This is second number range. Suppose if you define a number range which is already existing or overlapping with the other one, for example if I define like 5000 to 6000, insert interval. At the bottom you can see a status saying that enter intervals without overlap. So whatever the intervals you are entering, that should not overlap with each other, so that you have to take care. So actually in real time we need only one interval is enough. We don't need multiple intervals, but I'm showing you there is a facility to define multiple intervals, and we can choose the interval whichever we needed whenever we want to change the interval of. Now suppose if I select this one, so there are two intervals now. One is from 1 to 999 and the second one is 1000 to 999. Okay, so save it here. Just we are defining the intervals here, not the number range intervals. So we are creating the number range intervals. So this is also interlinked with the next step immediately. So let me complete the next step and you will get a complete idea of what is happening. Now immediately next step, define number range for provisioning requests. Define number range for provisioning requests. What you have to do here, click inside. Number range 1 is already available, that is from 1000 to 49s. Go back, only one is available which is active here. Now you want to insert the new one which we have created just now. Click on new entries. The number range number we have given is the 2. One is already existing, I have created 2, second one. So press enter now. You will see here 1 to 1999. This is the number range we created. Save it. And this can be made active now. So among there are two intervals now. One is from 1000 to 4999 and 1 to 1999. So among this which is active. So you can choose one of them only. You cannot choose both of them. Any one of them. And the current number field indicates when a request is submitted, the number will be taking as 1 here. That will be the current number 1. And then it will go to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It goes on in ascending order. So at any point of time you can come here and check it. The system will tell you the current number. What is the current number going on? Because once the GRC is implemented completely, people start creating the requests and the numbers keeping generating. So you can come and check the current number here. Okay, let me keep this active, which is 1 to 999. So now the system will start from 1 whenever I submit a request now. Okay, so these are all about the 2 steps. Very important 2 steps. If you miss or if you skip this step, access request, while submitting access request, you will face a problem. The access request would not be submitted first thing, and moreover it will throw an error saying that access request cannot be submitted because you did not allocate some numbers or define some numbers here. So very important step. Any doubts here? So first step is number range intervals. Second step is among the intervals, if you have more than one interval, which interval is active here. That is what we are going to define. Yes, any doubts before moving ahead?
The number range intervals, could you please repeat that once again? I missed it.
In the first step, go to maintain number range intervals for provisioning requests. Enter the object ID as GRAC request number. Click on number ranges, then modify intervals and give an interval name. I have given an interval name here. Number 2, interval 1 to 999. This was already existing and I entered the second one now, which is 1 to 999. So in real time, we need only one interval is enough. We don't need multiple intervals. Save it. And now, once you come back, next step, immediately define number range. You have to choose out of 1 or 2 which is active. Okay.
Okay, firstly we specify the range, then next step is we will choose which one should be active. If at all
Exactly.
we have
Yes. So here you have to choose. So first of all, you have to register them here. Suppose if I create the third interval now, for example, let me create third intervals. Interval number 3, and it is starts from 10,000, and let us take 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is one number range again. Insert interval 10,000. I have given. We have defined 1 lakh, I guess. So it is wrong. Right. So I have inserted a third interval which is 10,000 to 49,999. So that is one interval. Save it. So whenever you are defining interval, after coming to second step, you need to register it. It will not be available there. See, only two available. So you have to click on new entries, select number 3, which one we created, press enter, and then save it here first. So the one which you created in the earlier step will be shown here now. Now choose among the 3 which is one you want to use. Okay, I have selected 1 to 999. So the request number will start with 1 now. Okay, clear everybody?
because here we have three number ranges, right?
Yes.
1 to 999. After 999 request, if it is the 1000 request which is being generated, so will it select the second one, or we need to manually set it and save?
So generally what we give is 1 to 999s we'll give it.
Okay.
1 to 999s. Imagine what is 9 nines.
I mean, I'm just talking about 999. So once if the 999 request also got over,
That's what I'm
so
saying. We don't define multiple intervals. In real time, we define only one interval starting from 1 to 9999999 nines will define. No need of expiring the interval and again coming back and changing the setting. So why we need to do the reconfiguration? Just to define one interval which is the unlimited interval and leave it there.
okay, thank you.
Sometimes some of the projects will have like limitation on the number of the requests. Like what limitation is like they want to know they need to have a count of so they cannot enter the number more than 6 letters or something like that. If they want to only keep it as a 5-digit number, 6-digit number, so they will start it from 1000 itself, or they'll start it from 10,000 and end it with 4 nines. Again they set a new interval and they'll start again, restart it.
Okay, yeah, fine.
Right. Anything else regarding number ranges? Very important step and mandatory step. If this step is missed, your request will not get submitted. This could be one of the problem. If the access request is not getting submitted, this could be one of the problem. Right. Next, very important point, maintain end user personalization. So end user personalization is related to access form customization. So what do you mean by access form customization? So in access form there are number of fields actually. Let me go to that. First, access form. Yeah. So when user goes and submits access form, the access form should be as simple as possible for the user to fill it. So under my home page, access request, as I told you in the PRM also, user will be facing lot of problems in filling the roles actually. Similarly, in filling the access form also, he will feel the more difficulty actually. So he has a lot of doubts because when filling the access form, suppose he is a new user, he enters the reason here, reason for description, reason for request, new user, some team, let us say finance team. So give the details, whatever details you have, the user has to enter. Then request to type. So here he has to select, is it a new account, change account, delete account, etc., etc. And then request for. So request for self, other. Self means for myself, other means some other person. When you put request for other, that means user and requester will be different people. When it is request for self, user and requester are the same person, is the same person. Clear everyone? When you select request for others, requester and this one will be other people. Whereas if it is for self, then it will be same user. A user will act as a requester himself. Now you can see many fields are there like priority. What should I fill in the priority? Business process. The user has a doubt here. What should be filled here? Suppose he is aware of the department, what to which department he belongs to, he will select like finance or HR or plant maintenance, etc., etc. So, but it is irrelevant actually. No need of selecting the department here. Then, after coming to roles again, he will fill. I told you what is the difficulty in filling the roles also. So, when he clicks on role, he has to select the system name first. That is the reason we have gone for business role concept, not selecting or not needed to fill all other details like system and the role type, etc. Just you need to fill the role type as business roles and you search, you find the business role. So just select the business role. That will be the easy format for a user. And then once the role part is done, then he has to fill other details like user details. When you go to the pages and other tabs, actually, if you see here, there are many other tabs like risk violations. User does not have anything to do here. Attachments, it is not relevant here again. User defaults, details now. See how many user details are available here. And in filling these details, again, user will face a lot of difficulty. User will have a lot of doubts what to fill here. Like example, logon language, decimal notation, date format, SNC, and then coming to personal area, organization, business area, communication method, telephone, email, so cost center, accounting number, position, title. So like this, there are many fields in this form which the user is not aware of, and he will be always contacting security team to fill the access form, how to fill, what field, what value I have to put here. So what is our main intention is to make the access form as simple as possible. So user independently has to fill the access form without contacting anybody, any one of us. So that is our requirement. So this step is related to that particular. End user personalization is related to end user. Maintain end user personalization is related to access form customization. Let us go inside. So here we have one which is called as a default one, and if you see the fields inside this default one, select it and see the fields. So these are the fields available in the access form, and you can even see first one, account number. It is shown not as mandatory, so you can make a field here. So we have access form fields are available here. So you can make them mandatory, editable and visible, or you can make yes or no. Basically options we have. Access form fields can be made as mandatory, yes or no. You can tick it as yes / no. Similarly, editable, yes or no. Same as visible, yes or no. You can choose these options. So let us go back. First one, account number. It is mandatory, not mandatory. So I will keep it as much as possible no, which are not relevant for user point of view or for us. I'll make them no. Not visible at all. Mandatory means it has to be filled. Request reason is mandatory because why he needs access is mandatory. It should be editable, otherwise he cannot enter the data there. And also should be visible. Only it is visible, then he can enter the data. First name is yes. Also, these are by default things. Last name, I can see there is no chance for me to make it changes. Anyone? Why last name is not? I cannot change the last name or turn it into no as here.
Because in SU01 last name is a mandatory field?
Correct.
Maybe.
Yes. So in SU01, last name is mandatory. Without a last name, we cannot create a user ID in the backend system. So that's why here last name has been made mandatory and we cannot change it to no here. The other fields can be changed to turn to no. I can change the first name to no now. I can keep it no here, but that option is not available for the last name. Clear everyone? Employee type. So in the access form, if you see currently, we have an employee type field here. Employee type. So this is the ones we created in the last class. Employee types, full-time employee, contractor, if you have types. So based on the type, if you want to restrict any access or do some changes in the workflow, then we do that setting. So let me make it no, I don't want to see it. Manager, yes, this is mandatory. I'm making it mandatory because if manager is not there, then the first stage generally will be manager in the workflow. That would not be visible. It should be visible, it should be mandatory, and it is editable. Editable means he can change. Email is also mandatory. Here I cannot turn it into no. Then telephone number, not required. Department, no. Company, not required. GPS, location, user group, SNC, SNC name, job name. So I'm turning all of them as no, from visible part. Personal number, cost center. Business process is mandatory, so I'm turning it no first of all. Editable, no. And then visible also, I don't want to see it also. Arg unit, no. And then user ID is mandatory. Approve, reject, manager lookup information, visible. Roles, yes. Attachments, tab, this is tabs now. No. Request type, request for, and then business area, no. building functional area, floor, room number, user group tabs, no, I don't want to say. Parameters tab, no. Risk tab, no. Save it. Now you reopen the form now and just see the change. So here business process got disappeared, priority got disappeared, functional area got disappeared. Just compare with the earlier form. This is the earlier form. So business process got disappeared, functional area, priority. Okay. Now coming to tabs, you see how many tabs you see here and here. Here we have attachments, parameters, user groups, etc. etc. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tabs are there. Whereas here we have only 5 tabs. 3 tabs have been removed because we selected no there. And then under user details, the major change comes here. Only just first name, last name, manager and email ID are the 4 mandatory fields I have. In the earlier form, it looks complex for user. When he sees this form, he'll be confused to fill the data. But whereas in this case, it is very simple. Only 4 details have to be given here, and he will easily fill that data. Clear, everyone?
In the user detail, can't we have user type and user group?
Yeah, we can have, but the problem is again, if user selects a wrong user type and wrong user group, that would be a problematic.
Okay.
So we are not
So
allowing.
how can we insert?
Yeah. So generally,
okay.
so if you can guide the users, like one of the option is like for filling an access form, you have to prepare a manual how to fill the access form. Okay. And we have only few fields like request type, what has to be filled in the request type, what has to be filled in the request form, what has to be filled in the user, and then first name, last name, manager, email. And suppose if you have kept user type and user group also, user type should be that particular, by default it would be dialog, and user group you have to tell in the manual saying that if you belong to a finance, it should be F5. Some codes will be there for user groups. So that manual can be prepared and shared with the user. So user will fill the form seeing the manual. Okay, not now. So every time he need not contact you. So just we can place that in the link here itself, in the link actually in the GRC itself we can place that as a link. So he'll open that. When he clicks on the link, the manual gets opened, and as per the manual he will just fill the access form.
And one more doubt I have. See, what are the field he is filling here in user details? Those field only will appear in SC01, right?
Correct. Yes.
Auto provisioning is done.
Yes, exactly. Okay. First name, last name, and email ID and roles. These are the information coming from the access form.
Okay.
Nothing else we have here. But remaining defaults and all those things, we have a doubt. You could have a doubt now. Who will fill those details? Defaults tab I'm talking about, like date format, time format, decimal notation. All those things we have another setting configuration where we can do that. Okay, clear everyone regarding this? Very important. If a field is visible or invisible, if a field is mandatory or not mandatory, you can do all the changes here.
Sridhar, here we have cropped few fields in the access request form.
Yes.
So this suggestion we need to take it from client, or can we take decision in this case?
No, you take a decision and you have to convince the client.
Okay.
Because client doesn't know, right? He doesn't know anything about access form or what is advantage of putting a field or disadvantage. So you are the right person to take a decision in this case especially. So just like now he said user type is mandatory, user group is right. User has to select. Yes, but if you don't have a manual, again the user will come to you while filling the access form. What should I fill here in the user group?
So this access request form is only for new users, or even for existing users, the form will remain the same?
See here, all these account types, the same form. This is a form for every universal form. Every user, same form has to be filled.
Okay, but the tabs which will have, I mean, user access, risk violation, user details,
Hmm.
system details,
Hmm.
all these, I don't think they actually fit to the users who are already existing in the system, because some new role or request, something will be there, right?
Okay, how do you think this system will pull the first name and last name of the user here? User is suppose, let us suppose, imagine in ECC user exists.
Okay.
How do you think that it automatically pulls the manager data or automatically pulls the email data here? How it can be? He has to fill that data. User has to fill it.
Okay, just please confirm this. I mean, this request form will suffice both for user creation and existing users, or it will, the forms will be different?
Universal form I said for deletion, locking, unlocking, firefighter ID access, change request, change account, new account, every type it is the same form. Access form. Access request is only one.
Okay, sure.
Anything else? Right, that's about that point. Maintain end user personalization. One more mandatory step under auto provisioning settings. Just like number ranges, if not defined properly, then you cannot submit the request. Same as here, maintain end user personalization also. If the form has some unnecessary mandatory fields, then you cannot fill the form correctly. Right. So next step under that. Maintain provisioning settings. So very important one. This is also another important step. Maintain provisioning settings. So what do you mean by provisioning? You already know auto provisioning means. So this is what auto provisioning happens in the end of the request. Suppose this is your path. Manager stage, role owner stage, security. When security approves the form, auto provisioning happens. User gets created in the plugin system and the roles are also assigned to user. Our user gets modified, like roles are removed, our user gets deleted, locking, unlocking, whatever, it is automatically done in the backend system or plugin system. So that concept is called as auto provisioning. So regarding this auto provisioning, some settings are available here. So what are the settings? The first one, important settings related to that, maintain provisioning settings. So we can define the provisioning settings based on system wise or as a whole global wise also you can define. So what do you mean by global or difference between system provisioning and global provisioning? First of all, so you are connecting multiple systems to GRC, right? So these are multiple systems connected to GRC. If you want to the provisioning happen, you can define the provisioning one way to ECC, or you want to differently define for BW, differently define for finance, then you need to go for system provisioning. Or if you want all the three systems should have the same provisioning settings, then we'll go for global provisioning configuration. So depends on your client requirement or your requirement. Clear, everyone? So when multiple systems are connected to GRC, if you want the configuration related to auto provisioning settings different for every system, then you need to go for the system wise provisioning configuration. Otherwise you can go for global. First let me go for global. So I'm selecting global here. Click on new entries. So this is the global related stuff. Maintain global provisioning configuration. First one, role provisioning type. So in role provisioning type we have three options: direct, indirect and combined. So what do you mean by direct and what do you mean by indirect? Anyone can tell me the difference? Role provisioning means role assignment is direct and indirect.
Direct means
Direct might be for ECC and indirect might be for HR.
What do you mean by indirect?
Assigning role to position based or org based.
Right. So if you are not assigning the role directly to the user ID and you are assigning it somewhere else, then that is called as indirect. So generally in HR system we follow this concept: assigning a role to position or unit of the user. So in that case we call it as a indirect. So as I'm talking about here, global means all systems you have to take into consideration. So you can go for direct, but you cannot go for indirect. In every system, indirect concept is not possible. In BW, indirect concept is not possible. In ECC, not possible. In finance, not possible. Only in HR system it is possible. Or you should go for combined, direct, indirect or combined. So especially when you are going for global, this option should be selected as direct or combined. Indirect is not allowed. You will face errors if you select indirect here in case of global. Clear everyone the first point? Role provisioning type. So you have direct, indirect and combined. Three options. So indirect, HR system generally, position based, or org unit based. Okay. Suppose if you are selecting as indirect, in case if you in system case you can go for indirect, then you have to tell to system in indirect what is the category. Is it a position or org unit or a job? So it is talking about the HR objects. These are three are HR objects. Clear everyone? If you are selecting the above one as indirect, then in the below option you should say indirect where. Is it through in the position, org unit or job? So as I'm selecting here direct, no need to fill this data below. This is only for indirect provisioning type. Now second one, provisioning options, auto provisioning options. So generally recommended let us see how many types of auto provisioning types are available for you here in this case. So these are the 5 options available. Okay, if you see the 5 options, first 2 related to auto provisioning, third one is related to no provisioning, and the fourth and fifth are related to manual provisioning. Okay, so first of all, we are using GRC mainly for 2 purposes, ARM especially, for approvals workflow, and the second one is auto provisioning concept only. So then why the third option, fourth option and fifth option are given here? ARM is mainly used for workflow designing, approval workflow designing, and auto provisioning. So generally they'll definitely go for auto provisioning, but here the provision is again the option is given here: no provisioning, manual provisioning with auto password generation. So let us talk just manual provisioning, no provisioning and manual provisioning. First of all, why that GRC has given that option here? Any guess here? Okay, suppose these are your 3 stages. So this is your workflow. Approval workflow. And then once the last stage is completed, then in newer systems, basically in the plugin system, the auto provisioning happens. So auto provisioning means automatically creating. So these are the 2 parts basically. Approval workflow plus auto provisioning. So we use ARM for both. Clear everyone? So this is a complete ARM part. Approver workflow and then auto provisioning. So now I am saying there is another option given here. What is that option? No provisioning means no provisioning happens here. Till here, it stops here. And manual provisioning. So it is not auto, it is manual basically. Manual means we creating the user ID. So manual is nothing but we create the users by logging into. This is manual provisioning. We log into plugin system and creating the user. And this is auto provisioning. GRC creating the system. Yeah. So my question again coming back. Yeah.
Yeah, this case is that like there may be the cases only workflow purposes GRC can be utilized.
For which purpose?
Only workflow configurations instead of provisioning.
Yeah.
There may be cases.
Yes. So as I clearly divided here, this is auto provisioning and this is workflow. Some clients are using only for approval workflow process only. And for provisioning part, they are doing manually like this. So there are some clients still following this concept, using ARM part only just for approval workflows, not for auto provisioning. Clear everyone? So that is the reason we have options given here as no provisioning and manual provisioning. And within auto provisioning, we have 2 options. auto provisioning at the end of the request and auto provisioning at the end of the path. So there is a difference between the two. Auto provisioning at the end of the path and auto provisioning at the end of the path. One is end of the path and one is end of the request. So this could be one interview question or famous. This is also one of the important interview question. What is the difference between these two options? Or they can ask you, what is the difference between auto provisioning and manual provisioning? So manual provisioning means, I told you, this is the process. Once approvals are done, the request gets closed and then you log in into plugin system, and this is called as manual provisioning. Clear, everyone? So this we'll discuss in the last, because we need to complete workflow concept to understand this concept. What is the difference between auto provisioning at the end of the request and auto provisioning at the end of the path? But this can be understandable now, as I told you. What is the difference between auto provisioning and manual provisioning? GRC creating the user ID is called as auto provisioning. We creating manually in SU01 is called as manual provisioning. Clear, everyone? So here this is recommended option. At the end of the request is recommended. So auto provisioning, select the option auto provisioning at the end of the request. So why you have to select that, you'll understand once we complete the workflow basically. Right, so that's about the second option, auto provisioning. Now the coming to third point, very important now, this one. Create user if does not exist. So create user if does not exist for action, which action? Change user action and assign role action. So this is again a scenario. Generally users do a mistake while filling the access form. For suppose when user is already existing, what request type user has to select? When user is already existing in SAP landscape somewhere, what request type he has to select?
Change user.
Pardon?
Change account.
Change account.
Change user.
Change account or change user, right? So when user is selecting change account, okay, if you see the actions related to the change account in the SPRO, So now I'm taking an example like user is not existing in the SAP system, by mistake he's selecting the change account. So the condition is what? User is not existing in the system, but by mistake he is selecting the change account. Under change account, what are the actions? If you see, it is change user action and assign role action or assign object action. So here system tries to go and change the user does not exist, and the system will throw an error here in this case. So how to avoid such errors? A new user has to create a new user request type actually, but by mistake he is selecting a change account. So change account means the system will try to do action change user. So user does not exist in system, that will throw an error saying that user does not exist, and it may get cancelled also sometimes. The request gets closed. No action to be taken because the user does not exist, and the request gets closed. So to avoid such errors, so this option is given here. Now read the statement again. Create user if does not exist, for change user action, for assign role action. So either this action or change user action, the user has to be created if it does not exist. Why it has to be created? Because the approvals path or approvals will be same for generally creation and modification of a user. So if anybody is using GRC already, do you have any difference between the approvals part when coming to creation of user and change of user? Anyone? Anyone is having a difference? There is no difference. So when there is no difference, with the same approvals we can also create the user. So that is the reason this option is selected here. Create user if it does not exist, for change user action and for assign role action. Suppose you are raising a request for only a role assignment and your user does not exist. How can you assign a role without a user not existing? So first create him and then assign the role. So that is the main intention of this option. Clear everyone? Any doubt here? So a lot of users will select the wrong option actually. They do not know what to select. Instead of new account, many times they go for change account. So moving ahead. Next one is account validation check. Account validation check means sometimes when you are, suppose it is a change request, user is asking for a role, extra role, and if the user ID is expired or if user ID is locked, any could be the case sometimes. So when user is locked or user is expired, the new role assignment will not be effective, right? When user is locked or user is expired and he is selecting for new role access, so even after assigning of the new role access, that will not be effective. He cannot use that role because he is locked or because he is expired. So in that case, system will show a warning message that your user ID is not valid. So that is what is called as account validation check. System will show you a message, your user ID is not valid. That could be either expired or it could be locked. Any one of these cases. Just a warning message so that user is aware of that while submitting the form. Clear everyone?
So what is what is the user do next step once he get the validity error?
No, after seeing that error, he will stop. He will hold that role assignment or access, and he will go for unlocking user or change of validity or something like that. First, that action has to be
Okay,
taken, right?
unlocking it's fine.
Hmm.
Yeah, unlocking is fine, but validity exception is not possible, right? Yet.
So just now that Raghu has told there is an option action there in the screenshot. You can see he has sent in the WhatsApp. So there is an action
Oh,
called change date actually. So I have to test it when
okay.
even I am not aware of it. So maybe we can check
Okay.
there regarding the change of validity date.
Okay.
Here it is not available. In this system, the change date option is not available here. So we don't have change and unlock user, change and lock user, create and log. So we don't have change date actually. So maybe in 10.1 I did not observe there. So we have to check it if it works or not. Clear everyone? So that is account validation check. Provisioning, next one, role assignment. So provisioning should be done immediately. Assignment should be done effectively immediately. No time delay, just that is what. Provisioning effective immediately. Next, old role delimit duration. Old role delimit duration in the sense, suppose there are some roles which are expired in the user master record. So when there are some roles in the user master record which are expired, that role will be removed from the user master record after some days or months or years. What is the time date? Here you can give here. Delimiting them, removing them basically. Old role delimited duration. In how many days or in how many months or how many years that role has to be delimited. So you can give the enter days. Generally we give it 1 week or sometime like 10 days. After that the role will be removed completely from the user master record when the role is expired. So these options very rarely followed, but the first three options are very important. Role provisioning type, provisioning options, create user if does not exist. So remaining options are like not a mandatory ones. Password expiry for Oracle apps. So if you are connecting Oracle apps, this is relevant to Oracle apps. Deactivate password. When we have enterprise portal in our landscape, user does not need password for ECC, BW and finance systems, backend systems, because he logins into enterprise portal through single sign-on concept and he will use that password only. So in that cases, we can deactivate the password irrespective, in matter of what system is getting created. The password gets deactivated. Whenever user is created in ECC, we just deactivate the password because user is not using that password, he will log in through enterprise portal. So only when enterprise portal is there, this option will be enabled. Otherwise, we don't enable this option. If the password is not deactivated, then what is the status again? We can send the password through mail also. Send password, email status, yes. Password visible for the time period. So 300 seconds it is visible. As soon as he sends a mail, in that mail there will be a link for a password. When he clicks on the link, the password will be visible there and that be visible for 300 seconds. If you say send password, no, the password will not be sent. We need to manually reset the password and if user requests the password, we need to send the password to user manually. So depending on the requirement, client requirement, how they want it. Is it auto password generation? Here the auto password, whatever the generator, that is generator password. We cannot define the password. If you keep it yes, the password is generated and that password will be sent to the user, which is a lengthy password generally when it is generated. So generally we prefer keeping it no. So do not send the password and then we give it a time, like we manually reset the password and give it to the user if he needs it. he has to mail us saying that I need a password of system, so then we can reset the password and give it to him manually. So client requirement, first gathering the client requirement is first thing. So based on the client requirement, all these settings can be defined. So the one we have seen now is for global. Global means all the systems the same provisioning settings. No, if you don't want to go global, now system wise you can go. This is other option. New entries like target connector. So for ECC, what type of auto provisioning settings I want to go. What is our system name? I think it has been deleted. Let me check. They might have formatted system or deleted it. It is available. Why it is not there? The connector configuration has been removed. Okay, so I'll do that by next class. When you meet at next class. So that is the reason we are not able to see the system name here for our system type provisioning. So when I'm selecting the target connector, the system name is not visible to me. Suppose if this is my system name, then you have to define here what type of auto provisioning at the end of the path. Indirect provisioning, fillet, role provisioning, direct, and then auto provisioning, password expiry, immediate provisioning, role delimit duration, account validation, warning, role assignment. Like this you define system wise now. So for each system wise you can define differently. Create user if does not exist, deactivate password, etc, etc. So for each system you define separately now. Save it and then define for next system. So if you want different settings for different systems, then go for system wise. So generally people go for the global one only because they don't want trouble or different types of configuration for different systems. They generally go for global. Clear everyone? So if this is also missed out, then your auto provisioning concept will face a problem. So if auto provisioning failure happens, generally in the audit log you can check if auto provisioning failure is happening. So there is something related to this settings here, auto provisioning settings in under user provisioning part. So a very important step, maintain provisioning settings. Clear everyone? Right. So I'll stop it here today. So tomorrow we'll be completing this user provisioning part, and then we'll also see the introduction of workflow tomorrow. So we have 5 steps remaining here, and workflow beginning also we can see the starting concept of workflow. How many types of workflows are there? How many steps are there in designing of workflow? That also we can cover tomorrow. Right. Before closing, any doubts so far in all the points?